Hi, today I am going to be talking about Bruce Lee and the impact that he had on Asian American Pacific Islander identity and representation. Bruce Lee is recognized all over the world as a powerful cultural icon who reshaped how people viewed Asian identity. So his influence affected how Asian Americans saw themselves and how mainstream media portrayed Asians in general. Throughout its presentation, I am going focusing on how it changed representation and masculinity on screen and how it shifted the global perception of Asian people across many different cultures. So I chose this topic because my first exposure to Bruce Lee was when I saw him in movies such as Enter the Dragon and Fist of Fury when I was younger. These movies were the first time I remember seeing an Asian character who was strong, confident, and completely in control of his environment. When I got older, I rewatched The Way of the Dragon and The Big Boss, and I know started to notice deeper themes in these films, which includes how he challenged the stereotypes without saying it out loud. He was not only performing martial arts, he was not only representing himself, he was rewriting how Asian people were allowed to appear on screen. And that made me want to understand how much of an influence he actually had on Asian American and Pacific Islander representation. So, a brief biography about Bruce Lee was he was born in San Francisco in 1940, but he spent most of his childhood in Hong Kong, where he was exposed to martial arts and film at the same time. He returned to the United States at 18 years old to build a life for himself, in which he ended up studying philosophy at the University of Washington. He worked as a martial arts instructor, which helped him develop his own ideas about discipline and physical movement. Eventually, he transitioned into acting and became an international icon who blended culture, philosophy, identity, and physical skill in a way that made him different from anyone else during that time period. So, in Asian American and Pacific Islander history context, we must understand that to understand why Bruce Lee mattered, we need to understand that Asian Americans' representations looked in the earlier decades as something as stereotypical and limited roles. They were often placed in the background as servants, villains, or silent characters, where they had no voice or identity. Hollywood rarely allowed Asian actors into major leading roles. Bruce Lee entered the film industry at a time when racial barriers were strong and visibility was incredibly limited. His presence alone disrupted these patterns because he was nothing like the characters Hollywood usually assigned to Asians. Bruce Lee's struggle with Hollywood was that even though Bruce Lee had talent and a strong presence, of course, he still faced rejection because of racial bias. One of the best known examples is when he helped create the idea for the television show Kung Fu, but the lead role was given to a white actor instead. That experience showed him that Hollywood had no interest in putting an Asian male at the center of a major show. He chose to return to Hong Kong, where he created his own films and achieved major success. That success became so large that Hollywood eventually had no choice but to acknowledge him and all his works. His work proved that Asian actors could lead major films and attract international audiences. Bruce Lee developed a fighting style philosophy called Jeet Kune Do, which he described as a style without style. This approach was designed to be flexible and adaptable, and it pulled techniques from multiple cultures and fighting systems. Jeet Kune Do encouraged individuality and self-expression by allowing people to adjust movements to fit themselves instead of following rigid rules. This mindset also connected to identity because it pushed people to question boundaries and limitations. In many ways, it reflected the Asian American experience where people often navigate between cultures and create their own blended identity. Bruce Lee broke long-lasting stereotypes about Asian men. Before he appeared on screen, Asian men were commonly portrayed as weak, passive, or unable to stand up for themselves. Bruce Lee became the first widely recognized Asian male lead who came across as confident and strong and also heroic. He showed physical power, but he also showed intelligence, speed, awareness, and emotional focus that rubbed people the right way. Because of this, he redefined Asian masculinity in Western media. This change opened doors for future Asian American Pacific Islanders performers and helped audiences accept a broader and more realistic image of Asian men. Bruce Lee's influence spread far beyond the United States. He became a powerful symbol of empowerment across the entire Asian diaspora. Many young Asian people looked up to him because he represented strength, pride, and the idea that an Asian person could lead and inspire on a global level. You can see his impact in mural community art and tributes in Chinatowns and Asian neighborhoods around the world. His work helped elevate Asian culture into the global mainstream and gave many communities a figure who made them feel seen and respected. The actors who came after Bruce Lee often mentioned him as a major influence on their careers. This includes Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Donnie Yen, and even newer actors like Simu Liu. Bruce Lee created the foundation for Asian-led action films, in which he opened the path for Asian characters to exist as heroes rather than stereotypes. His influence can be seen in modern Hollywood stories that center Asian characters in ways that were impossible decades ago. He helped start larger conversations about identity, race, and representation that continue in the film industry today. Bruce Lee's cultural legacy today is that it is still very strong. Many of his quotes are used in sports media, motivational speeches, as everyone knows. It includes quotes such as, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. The Bruce Lee Foundation continues to promote cultural pride and fight against racism. His philosophy blends art, discipline, and identity in a way that continues to inspire people from different backgrounds. He remains one of the most recognizable Asian figures in global culture, and his image still shapes how people imagine Asian strength and, of course, intelligence. Even with all of Bruce Lee's influence, there is still some criticism that happened. Some people argue that he reinforced martial arts stereotypes because his bigger roles were focused on fighting. Others believe that his fame overshadowed the voices of other Asian American groups, or that his focus on masculinity took attention away from broader representation issues. His critics remind us that one person cannot represent an entire community. Still, the overall impact of his work is viewed as positive and powerful. Understanding his strengths and limitations help us appreciate his influence more clearly. Why Bruce Lee still matters. Bruce Lee still matters because he represents discipline, confidence, and self-determination. He was one of the first positive and powerful portrayals of an Asian male in Western media. He helped shift public opinion about Asian Americans and challenged negative assumptions. His philosophy encourages people to take pride in their background and to develop a strong sense of identity. His legacy continues to influence Asian American and Pacific Islander communities today and gives them a historical figure who changed the narrative. In conclusion, Bruce Lee was more than a martial artist. He transformed the way Hollywood portrayed Asians, and he reshaped global views of Asian identity. He broke stereotypes that trapped Asian actors and opened opportunities for new generations. He became a global symbol of pride and empowerment for the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. Overall, his influence still remains central to cultural history and continues to affect representation today of the Asian American Pacific Islanders. Thank you for listening.